Welcome to We Can Relate.
I'm Twilla.
I'm Scholastica.
I'm Brian.
I'm Lanston.
And I'm Naya.
We are related and relatable. And today we're going to discuss the end of the pandemic. So what is it like where y'all are at?
It's pretty open here in Denver. I mean, yeah, everything seems back to normal where I'm at, but, just trying to deal with all the little anxieties and things like that, being back around people, but otherwise it's pretty open.
Like, y'all don't have to wear a mask or anything?
If you're vaccinated, you do not have to wear a mask, but here in Colorado, there's a lot of open space. So you really weren't wearing a mask anyway, if you were in an open space. So it never really felt much like a pandemic otherwise, other than, I guess, the limited access with people.
And it's the same in South Carolina. But my whole thing with is as long as you're vaxxed, nobody's ever tried to check a card. I've never seen that. So
yeah, it's like an honor system thing.
Huh?
Yeah, it's like an honor system thing. So you got to trust everyone. Yeah. So the rest of us are in California and it's all opening up on June 15th. I don't think I'm okay with it. It all feels too soon. I don't know why they're doing this. Yeah. But I mean, I think a large number of adults are at least got one vaccination, which makes me feel a little bit better. Yeah. And it's also like I hear you say it's too soon. And sometimes I'm like, I don't know if we're really ready for all this new freedom. But at the same time, I'm like, it has been over a year. So, and then like the vaccinations did start earlier this year. So I'm probably going, although I'm vaxxed, ready to go. The mask mandate is pretty much like if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask outside. I'm probably still going to rock mine when I'm just generally walking or whatever. If I'm out at a restaurant with friends or something, take it out. You can't eat with the mask on, but I kind of like the mask. Let's talk about how many people actually got colds last year. Why? Because they're wearing masks.
I think it's weird though. Like a lot of people want to wear their mask. I feel like it's a fashion statement, but then I'm also like, do you think you're not cute? I don't know. Like if you have very beautiful eyes, then the mask probably helped you out a lot, so just saying.
I'm saying
then you have a mouth like the lady from from Mortal Kombat.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't get that reference, but okay.
It doesn't matter to you. But I liked how y'all all cut me off from my perspective. It's whatever. That's the second time.
You just gotta jump in there, Brian. Just jump in.
I'm polite. So I'm gonna say, for me, I think I had a different perspective than y'all because y'all pretty much stayed in your states, where I went back home to North Carolina, and with mom and dad, and I was trying to be super, super, cautious. Even though me personally, I'm not one that's like, oh, I'm terrified of coronavirus. Honestly, if I was by myself, I probably would never have worn a mask. But I was like, I know mom and dad, I don't want them to get sick. And then they have the care facilities. I didn't want them to get sick. And then, and then Scholastica was there, and I didn't want her to get sick. But she ended up getting sick anyway, and everyone else got sick too. And she spread it to everybody else's world. But I think, so for me, I took it really seriously, and wasn't hanging out with friends. I just hung out with Scholastica and mom and dad.
That's horrible.
Yeah, my friends were 3 hours away, and so it was I don't want to travel 3 hours away, and I know that they weren't necessarily doing things that they needed to do. So I was like, I guess I'll just stay here and work and watch TV. So. And I know I'm not going to say it because I don't need haters talking about me comparing it to prison. I don't need that, but I was very cooped up for a long time. I'll say that. And so now that I'm back in LA and everything has started opening up, I feel so excited. I'm just a naturally born introvert and I don't like hanging out with people, but I'm like, oh man, I'm back in acting classes and I'm trying to hang out with all these other people, and I'm bars open now. So I went out, hung out with some friends the other day or yesterday. So it's and the gyms are opened again. So for me, I'm loving it. It's I love the freedom.
I mean,
A
I'm
lot
really
of times I
trying to
keep forgetting to wear my mask, and then I'll go into some place and I'm like, oh, I'll see everybody else. I'm like, I left my mask in my car, so I turn right back around and go get my mask. So.
I feel you to an extent because I want to be on somebody's beach somewhere. It don't matter, but I still feel weird. Like we're trying to do stuff, because like, but if we go to a restaurant, it'll be like outside, way across from where anybody else is, and every time the waiter comes on, we have our mask up. But we're like trying, but it's not. I think it just stops us from going to more closed in spaces. But like we still try to, if we go somewhere like a market, it's like open air market or something like that, then we'll try to do that. But our masks are still on when we go to those places. But yeah, it's really now like a mental health sort of thing. Like, because y'all know I don't like to go out either, but I want to go somewhere, even if it's not with a whole bunch of people, just see stuff. So
yeah, I think like with me, like throughout the pandemic, I was working in an environment that was like, don't get sick. Like you get tested every other day. And then we would send out messages like, be responsible this weekend. These are what you want to put in practice. Like, and knowing that if in my job position, if I was out, that would kind of cause a problem. So it was kind of like, so I was super, like I would have been super responsible anyway, but I was like super responsible because financially I had to be to, maintain my job and so forth. I didn't see a lot of friends. We would go, I think we would start meeting and like we might have did a couple of times where we did an outdoor dinner, but like 6 feet apart because everybody in my crew was really, for the most part, everybody was really responsible. And then when it hit too close to home, everybody got like super strict. But now we all got our vaccinations. Let me tell you, we are active. Like we went to, like we've been to the restaurants. We went to a friend's, dinner at a friend's house. We got a boat party planned. We're going to Vegas. We're going to Philly.
But you won't go to that torch pop-up with me.
Because how much was it for food like this size on
like a gastro type thing?
Yeah,
No.
It was $150, I think, a person.
Well, anyway, I just feel like what's gonna happen though is everybody's gonna be like, yeah, I'm vaxxed, and start being like how y'all are saying, and then everybody's gonna get sick. Because I feel like
that's how Naya is.
So much into this vaccination that we literally have nothing.
There's no longitudinal studies. We are the study. Listen,
exactly.
And the thing is, I mean, I know professionals have been saying like, sure, that like there's a large number of adults and even like teenagers at this point who have gotten at least their first vaccination. I think Biden wants it to be by July 4th that like 70% of adults have it, at least one. But there's pockets, there's regions in different states that have different levels of it. So like, I think like Georgia is an example of a state that has lower numbers of vaccinations. So, these people, everything's opening up. So now they're traveling because they're like, we're free now. And they're just relying on what everyone else has done. I know this is a controversial thing. There's different religious reasons and maybe some like health reasons why you can't get vaccinations. I understand why people are hesitant because the government has done us wrong before. I get all of it. So
those are the pockets that really are experimenting. Like South LA, there's a low number of vaccinations, and that's a majority of Black and Latinx population. So like that's going to be a real impact in those communities. As well, like you might see spikes in certain regions because of that.
Yeah, and then but everyone's going to go back to normal, and there's that honor code system. If different like companies or whatever want to have like, oh, if you have your vaccination, you could do this. People are gonna be like, all right, sure, I have my vaccination, So I don't know. I think that the way that I've handled the pandemic is I'm already pretty cautious, and I think that this pandemic is the perfect time to be cautious. So I felt like in many ways I did the right thing, and I wasn't too over the top, but I do know that I also felt myself at different points almost like counterbalancing other people's decisions. Like I was going to go home for Christmas, and then I was like, yes, my our people got COVID at home, but then they were better, but I was still like, no, there's going to be tons of people traveling at Christmas. I can't contribute to this. And then sure enough, those news stories that covered how crazy the airport looked, I was so glad that I wasn't there. And so I just feel like I've been like counterbalancing other people, you know, like it's my duty as a citizen or something, like, but it mentally, that's not good to carry such weight as well. So
But you kind of have
finding that balance moving forward.
Yeah, I guess I don't understand why because you're vaccinated, why are you taking it so much more seriously? And your family's vaccinated.
because
I don't know if Lanson's vaccinated or not, but
because who knows? This
so
could
what?
last for 2 months, 3 months. Nobody really knows at this point. Just because
Okay.
you're less likely to get it, as far as we know, let's say that's true, but when does it wear off? Or it doesn't mean you still can't carry it and it still can't creep in there. It's like, why would you feel so strongly about going with the experts when the experts can't be experts on it? Like, it doesn't matter if they have like a certain background.
But they're definitely not an expert, so why would I go with you?
It's called common sense, though.
But like err on the side of caution is the answer, you know, not like, oh, Scala's more of an expert than they are, but it's like, this is
it's
new
like
territory.
I realize that they can't know, so I'm going to go based off of my own. Like, we can all make an educated assumption out here, and just because like they're saying, oh, this could possibly, but y'all really know.
So how many cases of people that have had COVID, have gotten vaccinated, have gotten COVID?
There
I'm
are.
pretty sure that percentage is very low.
It's low, but it's possible. Okay.
And maybe
Everything's
they've
possible.
already gotten it and then got vaccinated.
Heck, you can walk through a wall, technically through quantum physics. If all your atoms lined up perfectly, it's possible.
Well, I don't think
it's very low.
So Brian, and
Yeah,
you lost me there, Brian.
quantum tunneling, guys.
I was going to say, I think the issue, so this is part of the issue. Like, a lot of people started, I feel like during the pandemic, that a lot of people started questioning people's boundaries and what people felt like for their own personal and mental health was necessary to do. So it's kind of like, yes, you can lean on what you know about about the vaccination, and you could do what you need to do to feel like to live your norm. But at the same time, there's other people that actually have like legit concerns around it and not wanting to do anything too extra to go beyond that might, put them at risk or a higher risk for contracting the sickness. So therefore, I feel like throughout quarantine, the thing that we heard most was people fussing at each other for, some people for believing in science, some people for believing in God, for some people for wearing masks and not wearing masks. I think what the pandemic for me showed me was that like people will argue just for argument's sake, almost like, a mask is not constricting freedom, but some people went out like were marching, like offended that you dare wear a mask. Like, do you not believe in God because you're wearing a mask? And it's kind of like, hey, why is me wearing a mask offend you so much? Like, because at least we know you can't get it if I'm messed up, like that sort of thing. So I think like you can't really like go at somebody for being like, I'm gonna still be cautious. Even though
I understand pre-coronavirus. I do. Like, don't get me wrong. I was that person that's like, okay, these people marching against like wearing masks, they're dumb. Like, I was that person. Like, I thought they were really dumb for not like choosing like to protest something that's a thin piece of cloth. But now it's like, okay, you are vaccinated. We don't necessarily know how long it will last. We don't. But we do know it's going to last a few more months, so enjoy that few months of just doing what, if things open back up, all right, enjoy that time. Don't be cautious or else.
I'm very neutral about it. Like, I'm just listening. I get it. If you want to wear a mask, you don't want to wear a mask, do you? I don't care. I'm vaccinated. I just kind of follow the rules and do what people tell me to do. Okay, I got to wear a mask. All right. Okay, I don't gotta wear a mask no more. Okay, but so for me, I'm pretty neutral about it. But to your point though, Scala, about there not being other, this is the first time, there's no studies. I do have healthcare, working that space a little bit. So I am going to argue a little bit though, that although they don't have all the research, they did all the necessary research for the same research to get anything approved. You know what I mean? It wasn't like different than anything else. So, I mean, it was with that. So they studied it for thousands of people throughout the entire world, millions of people actually throughout the world, and they tested it. The only thing is we don't know what happens, year, 2, 3 years down the road, which is true, but no, we never do until things are passed by the FDA or whatever it is. And then you find out stuff out.
Exactly.
People always take it though, but people still are, they still take their medication and they still.
I would usually don't take experimental meds, but this is what this is, in my opinion.
A lot of people don't take flu shots. Let's be real. Like, people don't take flu shots. And that's been out for however many years. And, like, for whatever reason, there's a distrust. So you can't be like, there's a strong distrust of government at the same time. And I will say technology is what allowed, technology in the years of study is what allowed for this vaccination to get passed, right?
Yeah.
And, and so you have to say kudos to science on that. But like Scholastica is saying, like, for her, she's like, we're still in a very experimental phase. A lot of people wouldn't try experimental medicines just because the FDA approved it, because people don't trust government like that. So as healthy as it may be, fine as it may be, like, people's rationale isn't gonna wrap around what
but
tell them.
I guess I'm just, and I think it's fair to think that way, but I'm just trying to like make it clear for people who kind of feel that way, that just generally speaking, like, it's not experimental. It got approved. It got whatever. It did what it needed to. It was emergency drug use. But anything that gets approved, someone has to use it. You won't know if it's new or not. Your doctor just prescribes it. You say, okay, this is going to help. Okay. And you take it. And it could be a drug that just came out yesterday. You don't know that. So, this is the normal kind of similar process. But not to say you're wrong for saying you want to wait a while, but you don't say that for anything else, It's just because there's so much awareness on it.
I only take ibuprofen.
What's that?
I only take ibuprofen.
I think you make some good points though, Lanston. Like, I do think I remember being happy that I wasn't going to fall in any of the first groups of people that got, the vaccination. I was like, let's use these people as guinea pigs. Yes, my parents included. How are you doing? But I think after some time, because, I do also work in like a school of pharmacy. So I think I probably heard like a talk from one of our professors, and they made the point that like, it's basically, this is what happens when you can push past bureaucracy. That's usually a large part of what makes, that timeline take so much longer. So it's not like they did anything less in terms of like sample population or, the quality of research. It's just like, it happened faster. So that helped. And then also there are, coronavirus has been around for a while. So there has been people that have been like researching that and have a lot of knowledge of that before. And we also have historical examples of how things go. So I think that's why they're able to say, yeah, you'll most likely need a booster eventually. This might need to be an annual type of thing. So there is a lot that we know. It feels new. It's literally called like novel coronavirus, but it's a lot of, there's a lot of data that we do already have to work on.
And that's why I did take it. If y'all didn't know, I do have my vaccination, but I still don't know if in 9 months will I be able to have kids, because time still is.
But it's mRNA. It has nothing to do with your DNA.
Well, you still don't know. Them people got Johnson & Johnson got baby oil in the veins.
I do.
Oh, did you get the Johnson & Johnson one?
No, I didn't. Because I went and saw what you told me about it. That's why I ended up choosing the Pfizer one.
Well, what else is funny is that like being in a space where I've studied a lot of like African American history, and I know like we can stem back to like the Tuskegee experiments. We can stem back into North Carolina when they were sterilizing women in certain studies. Like, we know that historically the government has done our people wrong, not just as like people of color, throughout American history. Throughout world history has done people wrong and experimented on our people. So coming from that lens, of course, is like, I'm gonna be like giving the whole thing a side eye, but also, I can recognize science and technology and appreciate that. But the moment I realized that Usher's concert was happening in Vegas, I was like, guess what? Sign me up, let me get that vaccination. We'll be fine. So Usher changed my, like, I always knew I was going to get the vaccination, but I was a little hesitant about when. But I was like, let's speed this up real quick so I can go see.
The reason why I went and got my vaccine was because Hawaii, I knew they had some restrictions where you had to be in quarantine for a long time and all this stuff. So I heard that like if you had your card, maybe they would just let you in. And so with the road trip coming soon, I was like, I want to go to
How do you
Hawaii.
get to Hawaii
On the road trip.
on a road trip?
Huh?
That's
How
a
do you
little
get to Hawaii on a road trip?
You know what? I'm going to stop in California and then fly there. Don't try to play me. You know,
But
my
no,
co-teachers that helped me actually do the whole route, she was like, you can't drive to Hawaii. I said, yeah. My siblings live there. We're going to fly.
Are you going to
Probably like that.
Alaska? Are you trying to hit all the states?
No, just like, I'll show you the route later.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I also got a vaccine because I wanted to travel. So I wanted to go on my 1-year anniversary, go somewhere nice. We started seeing that places opened up, Greece. Like, okay, I'll do it now.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it may sound like I'm on the side of like pro-vaccine. I did not want to get a vaccine. Like I literally didn't want to get one. I work in healthcare, so having to go to those hospitals and whatnot, I needed to get vaccinated. So I waited as long as I possibly could until people said I had to. So just want to make that clear. I'm not a square. I'm not Naya. I'm cool.
Said I was glad to not be a part of the first group, but I did. What's that?
Nothing.
Okay. But I was surprised because I fell under like educator because it's just that sector. So I was able to get it a little sooner than I thought I could. But at that point, I was already like, you know what? I'm ready to see family. I'm ready for life to move forward. And I feel good about this. And so, after Twill and I were fully vaxxed and at like 2 weeks out, we were able to fly back to North Carolina, surprise the parents with Scala's and Bryant's help. So that was really nice. So yeah, I do think that was part of the motivation too. It sounds like we are ready to move forward.
I'm glad you said that you felt excited because I felt like even while I was waiting for the vaccine, is it the unpretty video where somebody's waiting in the lobby and then runs out of the door? Like that's what I was about to do. I did not feel good about getting the vaccine. Like I feel like it went against my intuition or something.
No, I was definitely calm by that point and I was ready. I felt like it was everyone, there were no crazy reactions. And whenever there were, it was very minimal to the point where it was hard to even prove causation, So yeah, I felt good about it. But I don't know. I kind of want to think about where we're going next. Like where Tula already said she's going to Vegas.
And Philly. I'm going Made in America concert in September or festival.
And on a yacht, right?
And on a yacht.
Tula's living her best life.
So I have a question, Lanston.
Okay.
So if you're vaccinated, you can go to certain countries now?
Yes.
Okay.
Or you can come back at least. But I'm not exactly on all the rules and the regulations. Rachel does most of that. But I know, for example, we went to Mexico, you needed to show a negative test to get back. So, but if you had your card, I believe that was to prove that you got vaccinated. I believe that was enough, if I'm not mistaken. Or you don't have to worry. It's something along those lines. So,
per country, like
Okay, and you don't have to quarantine for 2 weeks when you go there.
No,
or you're still okay.
Yeah, you should be good.
Okay, because I was planning on. I think it's too late now because I was planning on going to like, was it like the Philippines and Cambodia and areas like that, for the summer. But I know that they're like really behind, especially like the Philippines. They have like a big case, or they're not. I don't think they're vaccinating yet or anything like that. So I decided to wait till next year.
Yeah,
Like,
there are a lot of countries where, like America and a lot of Western countries, have the infrastructures in place that allowed us to get vaccines. They bought up all the vaccines for us. And now we're shipping out the ones like the AstraZeneca, like nobody's using that. So America's shipping that one out, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, I think Brazil is still spiking and India is really bad. Like there's certain countries that it's like, and that's also having like the evolved version of the coronavirus. So definitely do your research before you start planning a plane ticket.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my boys, and I think he went to Jamaica or somewhere, but he said like, it's kind of I guess 9 o'clock is the latest you can be out or something. They have curfews, things like that. So you just got to look at it because you'll hate to go out there and like, yeah, this is great. I get to experience the greatest trip of my life. And then where it's socially distanced, like, so just something you have to look at.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I
Um,
don't know.
you said what?
Go for it, Tula. What were you saying?
Yeah, so I was gonna say, like, is there like any, like for me, like the only hesitancy that I have, and I appreciate like my job where it's, we still have to wear masks. Like we still wear masks, face shields. We have zones, we have pods, we have weekly tests, or depending what zone you're in, every other day test. And I'm not sure how I feel about that part leaving. Like once because in production, it's not everybody doesn't necessarily have their own office. Sometimes it's a shared space. You just make it work so you can have 5 people up in your office. So like I kind of want plexiglass if we're going to be doing that. Like I still want some of those things implemented. I do like from a sanitary perspective what COVID has given us. Like people weren't washing their hands before COVID, like we had to teach people how to wash their hands. Like, so I'm glad that people now know how to wash their hands and know to do it in some warm water with some soap for 20 seconds because people were not doing that. People were not covering their mouths. So I'm glad they got masks. So like
with their gloves,
Yeah.
like I was like, you were not doing this right. Like they'll
Yeah.
touch everything and do all this stuff and still touch right in their purse. I'm like,
that's not how
it's like we're having your skin.
Yeah.
And get what you're doing.
Y'all know one thing I actually think should stay from the pandemic is like people like fast food workers or anybody that cooks food. Like I think they should keep wearing their masks. I never realized like how unsanitary that is. Like they're like you go to Chipotle, they're like, oh, what do you want? And their mouth, like they're speaking over the food, they're spitting. Yeah, so I was like, maybe they need to keep the mask.
Churches are opening back in July, and I told Naya, like,
Hallelujah.
I can't think about like the sitting on the front row where I would usually sit closer to the front because I'm like, now we got the praise and worship, just praising and worshiping in the middle. And the pastor, when pastors start preaching really hard and hit those peas, the peas popping. Like, I just don't want to be part of that.
Praise the Lord.
Wiping sweat off with that towel.
Like, I'm like, let me sit in the back. If I do this, like, I'm not ready for that ministry. Like, I'm not ready to turn to my neighbor and say nothing. Like,
I know now they say type it in the chat, and I'm like, no,
In the
I'm not
comments.
going to type it.
I'm not typing amen in the chat.
I'm not ready for swimming pools. I don't think I'll ever feel right about swimming pools anymore.
Yeah.
Like people
Yeah.
Yeah,
I never went to like
Guys.
swimming pools like that anyway.
Family, I love you guys so much. However, I have a friend who's abandoned at the park right now in the rain. So
No.
so sad.
I do have to leave.
All right, Langston.
Okay. All right. Love you guys. See you next time.
All righty.
Bye.
I was going to say, like, I feel like one thing that a lot of people will miss and are probably pushing back on is the work from home, at least a hybrid situation. So many different people and departments in different sectors have proven that they can work successfully and, get stuff done at home. And just that commute, especially out here in LA, like if they could just twice a week versus the 5, and then that decreases, traffic for everyone as well. So
like everything's just better.
Yeah. I think the hybrid model should stay, like especially for schools. Like the way we're doing it is like in the morning we do like online, like the people that chose to do online, and then in the afternoon, the kids that want to come in like in person, then we teach them. And I actually kind of like that. It was like, I mean,
but how are the students
the full remote academies too? I think from 3rd grade up, they're going to have it next year as an.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
okay, I think it's something here to stay.
Yeah, there are certain things, but there was a article recently that came out that said people working from home are, we would say like having sex and working on side hustles on the company's time. So it's kind of like.
What's the bad part about that?
As long as they get their job done.
So there's more benefit to it.
For the employee, the employer is like, oh, really? That's why you're not answering my call?
But how was my last project that I turned in? Fire, right? I'm happier. Okay.
I see that you are uploading some other project budgets to the cloud that doesn't belong to this. Like, like using your work computer to do side hustles. Like I think is, I think that's really interesting. I'm for the side hustle, I'm for that, and I'm for the
I'm
hybrid
not.
version, but
I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm
talking
really
about
against
hybrid.
like a lot of hustles.
I'm not,
But
well,
anyway, that's a topic for another day.
I'm more so talking about like I'm for the hybrid model,
Oh, okay.
because I think it brings work-life balance. And for me, I think that's
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
what the pandemic offered for me. And we talked about this before, but I feel like the pandemic showed me that rest is valuable. It showed me that, like you should take time for yourself. It also taught me that I kind of knew this, but it solidified that I enjoy working for myself. Like if I'm going to work some crazy, stupid hours, it better be for my own dream and not anybody else's. And that just solidified that in COVID.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, I think like workplaces were forced to evolve last year, and now they want to like almost regress instead of recognize the benefits of it. And I think that there's certain forward-thinking companies that are like, all right, you can work from home for the rest of your life, because some people bought homes far away anyway. So I think like it's the people, like the jobs and the industries and the places of work that know, how to evolve, they're going to do well. And you have to kind of evolve even, I think, your hiring processes. Make sure you're hiring people that you trust that will work from home, and make sure that you kind of create an environment where they feel invested in it, so that that they'll get their tasks done. Like treat people like adults that are able to determine what they do at their time.
Yeah.
And I think that will decrease, burnout and turnover and all of that. So.
Yeah. And I think we were able to see like some effective working. Like I know people who had a job, maintained the job the whole time throughout the coronavirus and traveled. Like you had people who were like in Mexico on their work computers or in Hawaii on their work computers. And it's like
North Carolina and their work computers.
right. Just like pretty much like maintaining, like they're like, oh, I'm not on vacation. I just needed a change of scenery.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think
you are on vacation a bit, and I don't think there's anything
wrong with that. If you get your work done,
I worked really hard when I was online, partially because I was like, we had gone to in-person learning, but I can't remember what happened to where I was able to be out for the first part. But because I realized like kind of what the stigma to it is, like if we're working in the office, we're working harder than you naturally. So I'd almost be trying to prove myself. So I feel like I worked probably even harder in some way when I first.
Yeah. And I understand the benefit. There's certain things that you can't get at home, like that team connection and socialization, and sometimes just like asking questions is faster, when you're in an office space, which is why we go back to the hybrid model. We're not saying fully remote all the time, but you can get the best of both worlds, and people will be happier and work better. And like you said, harder, they'll be more incentivized to keep up that kind of method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, like I feel like with coronavirus, we saw so many during that period of the Panini, as the kids would say, you would find like there were so many lessons learned, like about like how people viewed science, how people view like religion, how well we catered to other people's perspectives, how we related to self-care. There was like so much in this, and not to get like overly deep or religious, but I really do feel like it took like, that was almost, although it was so bad and so much pain and so much hurt that happened during that time and so much loss, it took like an epidemic to stop the world and like tell us to like slow down. You know what I mean?
And it was restorative to like the
Yeah.
environment, to my mental state.
I mean, we damaged the environment with all the masks, though, like all them tossing the mask and
I have to end up getting the ones that you could just reuse, though. I had those mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Well, there's a lot of lessons you could take from it. And I feel like we were talking kind of like the views we had of people, like the people that were like anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers, and people that were extra cautious. I feel like hopefully we could be mature enough to take the lesson that we have to move forward in grace and understanding and agree to disagree, kind of like, just as long as everyone respects where everyone is on this journey.
Not gonna happen.
Okay. Yeah, I'm talking about America. I'm sorry. No, it's not going to happen. Forget I even said anything.
You know what? Also, coronavirus show like the people, if you give people the time, we will march. We are politically active. We were out there, like people showed up for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, like all these people, you know, all this.
Donald Trump losing his presidency.
They showed up for that too. Like, so no matter how like right or wrong you were on what side of history, like people had the time to engage and be politically active. And I feel like the moment like Black people unified, or not even just Black people, like, because it was really across the board. America started like waking up in its own way and out there in the streets. Like, I feel like
the work was from the man to distract us from what really matters.
What it is, it's a matrix, man.
Yeah, we're in a matrix, and I feel like they were like, "Oh shoot, let's find this vaccine." Really,
Scholastic's never watched it. Scholastic doesn't get that reference. She never watched it.
It's really good.
A couple of weeks ago, hush.
Okay. Good. I watched it for the first time in college.
A red pill involved.
Watch it though, because it really does feel like a lot of times when you watch news, you'd be like, we
really couldn't find it or something.
Anyway. It wasn't on Amazon
or HBO Max.
I'll look again.
Good. So you got homework, girl.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that works, because I think when I know I had conversations with you, Tula, about it, and like with Mom last year, that was the first time I even thought that it was a possibility that like racism as we knew it and like systemic racism, like it could actually be greatly improved upon, you know, almost eliminated. But now people are trying to be like, it doesn't exist. America's not racist. So I don't know where we are going to land on that. But last year there was so much hope.
Nice, right?
It was so nice. It was like, and I think that no matter what people do, like moving forward, I will still carry with me like, oh, it's possible. Oh, and also my experience is validated. You know, that really did something internally to heal, you know, all that we experience as Black people. But hopefully we don't get tired or distracted and just lose everything, you know, that we gained last year.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like we're not going to necessarily lose everything, especially like you start watching commercials and movies and stuff like that. You see, like, I feel like that did something, especially like you start after all that stuff, after a protest and everything, you start seeing commercials that have more like minorities in there, like they're Black people, like a Black family doing like things that usually you'd only see in commercials white families doing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, we do that too. And you know, but now
we clean our dishes too.
Right? We use the on dish soap. and so it's like now you start seeing that stuff. Like, oh yeah, Black family, like just living their life. You don't see like, you know, it's no longer being portrayed. I mean, you never in commercials, I don't think, showed like Black people being criminals or anything like that. But they just didn't show Black people like that.
They showed us dancing, like
jazzy music, you know, the McDonald's.
Right. Like, oh yeah,
McNuggets. I love my McNuggets. Yeah,
I'm like, a McNugget has never done all that for me, so maybe
not soul food. Like I literally don't talk like that. I wish I had that voice. That's why I wouldn't do poetry, because I felt like I didn't have the soul sister voice.
Aw.
It'd be like, oh, my brothers and my sisters.
My brothers and my sisters. Like, I don't have the voice either, but I try to fully embody it and just, you know.
No, we need your voice as it is. See, that's the thing. We're not homogenous. So, like, hopefully more diverse representation, not just like color-wise, but like types of Black people have.
Yeah, for sure. As a person.
I do want to see Scholastica do a poetry slam now in her voice.
A poetry slam? I've done poetry, but not a slam. Just like open mic.
Go ahead.
I want you to do a poetry. Do it now.
Do something now. Off the top of the dome.
No.
I see flowers and I see maps. Flowers across the maps. I wonder where these maps will lead. Treasure, sunshine.
Yeah, only thing is, we'd never asked you to do it, Tula.
I was trying to help Scholastica.
Wait, the awkward turtle thing. How do you do it?
I don't know.
I was like this. And I was like, how come this is awkward turtle? It should be like this.
Oh, thumbs. I was trying to do a pinky and my thumb. I couldn't do it.
Alrighty.
I don't know.
Anyway, we got off topic.
It's going left. It's going real left.
But yeah, guys, this was really good. Like it's really good to reflect on. Like I think, you know, like there's a saying that says if you know where you've been, you know where you're going. So I think it's really important to reflect on all those things that we went through over this past year, the lessons that we learned, so that we can take it and implement it in life and be better, and also just be grateful, just be so grateful. One thing, like death really like is one of those things that weighs heavy on me, and I really feel like I cry so hard for people when they lose a loved one. And so I felt that very heavily last year. It felt like death for me. And it was just so hard to know that so many people lost loved ones, but being so gracious that our family was still intact and taken care of. And even though, like, you know, people, you know, got ill from coronavirus, that we still had our good health. You might not be able to taste anything.
Yes,
But but like, you know, like we
strong.
pulled through how many months?
6.
That's crazy. But we were able to pull through, and like we're really all here. And so just like being grateful.
2020 gave us like a standard if you either forgotten or didn't have one, just when it comes to like self-care and balance and just everything. So that's why I think like even I was so grateful. I think all of us maintained having jobs, you know, and everything like that. But like now that kind of through that, even redefining how do I want my job to look, and should it be like how it fits into my life and things like that. So I'm grateful to 2020 for that perspective / reminder, because I think I felt like in Shanghai it was like normal, and then here I felt like, oh, you know, you got to hustle and grind here though, and it got to be so hard, and I'm like, why? So I was like, no, this doesn't work well for me. I know what it looks like, I know what it feels like, and I know I'm my better self like this. So that was a good reminder as well. So
yeah.
I think I definitely learned how to. I don't know. Having a morning routine does a lot for me, and I guess like because I was in North Carolina and school started like classes started at like 11 because I was like it was a 3-hour time difference. No, it started at 12 because school started at 9 out here over the pandemic. So it started at 12. So I got to sleep in, and I would wake up early, and I'd take a shower, and then would work on like a skin routine. And I was like, oh, and then I guess apparently mom even noticed it and said that I spring down the stairs like a deer or something. But it does. I did notice that I get like more energy. I have like more energy. I feel more grounded or something when I do a routine. And even now, like even though like I have a lot less time to like shower before I get to work, I always still try to make sure I get my routine done.
Yeah. Yeah. I think PT mentioned something about like having a routine, like being intentional in your routines and your morning routines and your nighttime routines. And, you know, like I found that to be myself too. Like I have a vision board that talks about like creating routine and discipline, and it worked, you know, like I'm currently working like crazy right now. So like my routine is out the door. Like the only thing that I can maintain is drinking a gallon of water, and I'm barely doing that. but it's like certain intention, like trying to be intentional and set routines as far as like like, because health wise or like working out wise and certain things like that, that came from lessons in the pandemic. You're absolutely right, Bryant.
I have to piggyback on that one because it was a combination of that and going to work, because I avoided trying to teach because I didn't want to be a morning person. But I kind of timed like, what time do I really need? Because I used to love to just hop out of bed 5 minutes till I had to go out the door. But that just didn't serve me anymore. So I was like, let me try this. And so even though I didn't need to leave the house until like 7 to get to work on time, I get up at like 5 and make sure I had time for yoga, to do my smoothies, to do all this stuff, take a shower, do my makeup. And though that just made my day just flow better. And at first it was hard, of course, like the first couple of weeks, but after that, like everything just was easier. Like the way I did work throughout the day, it made it easy to go to bed early because I went to bed, so got up so early, and just, yeah. And I have to get back to that because it's easy to get off balance. But
Yeah, definitely is. I think when I think there was one time I didn't do my routine and mom thought I was sick because I just kind of walked down all tired and everything. Yeah, so it definitely gives you that like extra, I don't know, joie de vivre. Is that how you say it?
Very classy, very well done.
What is that to me?
Joie de vivre. Joy of life.
Okay, thank you. I was like, je ne sais quoi.
Oh, I forgot you took Latin.
That was
you don't know.
It makes sense when you break it down like that. Thank you, Naya, for telling me about that.
You're welcome.
Well, yeah, when you translate it to English, it makes plenty of sense.
But no,
of course.
I'm saying like joie de vivre, like that means joy in life. I hear it based in the Latin. I should have yeah. Maybe if somebody else said it.
I thought it was beautifully said, Brian. Perfect pronunciation. Chef's kiss.
What?
She's complimenting you.
Oh, thank you.
You don't even know what you were complimented on.
Doesn't matter. It's a compliment. I'll take it.
Right. Going left again, guys.
What happens when I talk?
Well, I feel like, Naya, did you have anything else to add?
No, I'm soaking in all of your wisdom. I feel pretty much the same. Like I said in an earlier episode, 2020 was kind of like a car wreck. 2021, I got my life together. So I feel you on those morning routines. And I feel like, yeah, I just also realized the value of peace and how I'm like less willing to compromise that. So
that's a good one to end on right there.
Yeah, like pass around that offering plate.
That will keep your peace.
Well, I am always grateful to have these weekly conversations with you guys. I'm glad this is becoming part of our routine and connecting us more so. We're always already tight, but just staying in that communication. So I want to thank everybody for watching. We Can Relate. Be sure to tune in every Monday on YouTube. Langston is hopping back on right as we're signing off.
What a surprise.
Oh, well, never mind. See you guys later.
No, Langston, you stay on.
No, I'm leaving.
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
Yeah, so be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Leave comments, let us know what you think. What should we talk about next? What do you want to hear? And we thank you.